Hey, let's get into the biggest story that we've seen in quite some time. What a 72 hours it has been. The tackle and then, of course, the two players. And with it, the end of the season for both Latrell Mitchell and Joey Manu. And with both of their departures, more than likely their premiership hopes of both the Roosters and the Rabbitohs with them. And as if the on-field incident wasn't dramatic enough, the fallout since has been quite a spectacle.
Old enemies, the Roosters and Rabbitohs, are at war again over Latrell Mitchell's sickening high shot on Joey Manu.
Look at his eye.
He's freshened his eye socket.
I think he has. His cheek is puffed up.
It's that bad, it's actually funny.
He's really unhappy.
There must be something going on when a Roosters player gets hit high.
Well, Trent's got a couple of those players himself that he coaches, so I don't know what he's looking over the fence at us for.
With him and Latrell, it just got personal. I know they've won premierships together, they're really good mates. Latrell, his confidence can sort of get the better of him, and there's that little bit of borderline arrogance where, that entitlement.
Never at any stage of the tackle did he intend for that to go the way it did, but it happened.
The guy's off at hospital, and then they get forced into finally making a call on it, and then they send him for 10 in the bin. 10 in the bin.
I was, pretty disappointed. I thought it was the wrong call. I think it should have been a dismissal or send-off.
Get out of there. If you can't do it, get out of there, or just get rid of it all completely.
Latrell, I don't think would do it on purpose. It causes someone to break a fair amount of bones in his face, and just can't do that.
It happened that quick. If we can see it in fast motion, he's protecting his try line, and it sort of happens.
There is a fine line between getting this right and getting it wrong. They'll find him guilty, and he will miss the final series.
That they did, and that he is, on the back of what was a remarkable scene of events on Friday night at Suncorp Stadium as the Rabbitohs comprehensively beat the Roosters. Gus, Gal, you both made your opinions clear post-game on Friday night. They've been well publicised since. What have you made of the fallout since?
Well, pretty typical. I mean, my take on the whole thing was formed during the commentary live as it was happening. And everything exacerbated on the field and off the field because of a number of things. Number one, the Manu injury. When it first happened, no one really saw it. We didn't go back to a replay until Manu confronted Latrell Mitchell. And when he first confronted Latrell Mitchell, there was no evidence that he'd been hurt. He seemed quite coherent. He wasn't knocked out. He wasn't lying prone on the ground waiting for a stretcher. He'd gone over to confront Latrell himself. It was only the second time we see him when he's blown into his in the crevice in his cheekbone now that it all blew up. Once his face blew up, everything blew up. All right, because that changed the whole tone of everything that happened here. You've got the injury to Manu, which is a serious injury, and that's bad luck, but serious injuries happen. You've got Roosters versus Rabbitohs. You've got Roosters versus Latrell. You've got the fallout afterwards. Not to mention that these are two high-profile players, two of our most high-profile clubs. It was on national TV, and that's clickbait on websites and social media for the next 48 hours, which everyone takes advantage of to sell themselves. What happened here, I believe, is accidental. I don't see in any way, shape or form that this is a deliberate act. To suggest it's thuggery is childish. To suggest that Latrell Mitchell should be rubbed out of the game because of this is childish. You obviously don't understand the impact of the tackle and how it can go wrong. I defy anyone to tell me that Latrell Mitchell ran 30 metres across field and said, I'm going to knock Joey Manu out here with a shoulder. You can't do it for a start, but that's just how it happened. The way the tackle took place, with all the things that would have been going through Latrell's head as he came across the field, and the skill and the talent of this great centre, you've got to come across and stop him. It's a heavy collision, and it goes wrong. Right? Manu actually ducks back in to get an offload onto the inside, which takes away the protection for it. All right. So as soon as Manu turns his body to look back in field and try to get an offload away under Latrell, he gets himself vulnerable to the collision. That's where the collision goes wrong. It's at that point where Manu turns his body, leans down and goes like that, which allows the collision here. The other point I'll make for all those that are experts about what Latrell should have done, tell me what he should have done. Tell me what tackle you want him to make in that situation.
What's intent got to do with it? He got him in the face, whether he intended to or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I said it went wrong.
So what should have happened?
So, well, because everyone wants to punish someone when someone gets hurt. I say this, I'm more tolerant to the injury position because I don't believe just because a man gets hurt, someone's got to be punished for it. All right? Now, in the current climate, he's probably been, you can probably charge him with careless and everyone would get away with that. But because of the seriousness of the injury, I don't think there's any deliberate or reckless intent in this tackle whatsoever. I think it's just happened by the mechanics, the speed of what they're doing, Latrell coming across quickly. What's the solution? Don't tackle hard, don't run hard. What's your solution to avoid these collisions? We had a young rooster chase a kick-off for 40 metres the other night and knock himself out in the tackle. We see this off kick-offs all the time. They don't intend for it to do. They don't want it to happen. No one wants to see the injury. But these things happen in football at high speed. And that's what people don't get around. So I think that the reckless charge comes because of these images flashed up all over the paper.
What do you think the match review committee reviewing this?
I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt.
Influenced by
I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt they are influenced by the injury.
So I agree. I think the fact that he broke his face was the reason he got charged with a reckless tackle. I'm with Gus. There's no way that's an intentional high tackle. There's no way he's run across the field thinking, I'm going to get this bloke and knock him out.
So you're thinking it's careless, not reckless?
I think it's
because they went straight past careless. Grade 2 reckless.
Grade 2 reckless. They went straight past grade 1. I thought it was grade 3. It was a bad, careless high tackle, OK? They knocked the bloke out and hurt him, OK? So it deserved to be charged. At no stage I'm saying it doesn't deserve to be charged. And he was always going to miss the season. We agreed on that straight after the game on Friday night. But I believe it was a careless high tackle. It was not intentional. I compare it to the one on Saturday night, Flegler up against the Sharks, Jack Williams. Jack Williams, there's no contributing circumstance in this one. He didn't have Gagai chase him and tuck him around his legs. He never dropped. He got hit straight in the chin with Flegler's shoulder. He wasn't knocked out, didn't break his bone, didn't break anything in his face. He got straight up and played on. He got 10 in the sin bin. He's been charged with a grade 3 careless high tackle.
So if you're going to charge him with a careless high tackle and he didn't have priors, he'd probably do a couple of weeks. And he would have been back in the semi-finals. And what I said on Friday night was he'll be out of the semi-finals, not just because of the charge he gets, but because of the loadings he gets from the priors, which I don't like that loading system. I made a point. I don't like the Judiciary loading system. I even spoke against some of the priors that he had, which is going to lead to an extended position here. We rub players out too easily, but everyone gets caught up in the injury. And the injury's an accident. The injury's unfortunate. You could hit him that way 10 times and nothing would happen.
Gus, isn't it telling though? Wayne Bennett, when he wants to, can whinge for Australia. This situation here, Wayne Bennett hasn't said a word. South Sydney have copped it sweetly, not even fighting it at the Judiciary.
Because you can't defend it against the type of media we have today, Michael. You cannot defend it against the type of media we have today. You get hounded down. This is 15 clubs against one. This is people who don't even understand the game against one thing. You learn in football there are some fights you can win and some fights you can't. You can't win the fight to defend Latrell Mitchell. I will do it because I've got the courage and my conviction. But you can't win the fight against idiots in the media who want to glorify this or pump it up into something that it shouldn't be.
So what would you have given him? How many weeks would Latrell Mitchell have
I'd have charged him with a careless tackle. Now, he's got loadings on that. It could have ended up 4 weeks anyway. I said he would miss the whole season before it. I was quite emphatic on that. I said 2 teams have lost their finals chances in this one incident. But for me, he's run across field hard. There's a collision. It's unfortunate. Careless. If you want to charge him with something careless. I'm even a little bit more than that. What are you going to do? What did you want him to do differently? What did you want the tackle to look like?
Can you explain one thing? After the game, I watched with interest your comments, and you said if you haven't played the game, you wouldn't understand. Now, a lot of people watching back home would think disrespectful or, that's a bit offensive to them, right? I played 20 years, not at a high level, wasn't very good. Yeah. Explain to me what you mean about if you haven't played the game.
That's taken out of context. What I said was, if you haven't been in that position that Latrell Mitchell is in, coming across the field with Joseph Manu stepping and pulling out of tackles and what he'd done previously in the night, trying to stop the offload, stop the try, scoring a try. I've got to get to him quick. I've got to get to him before he passes. I've got to do with that. Unless you've actually in there, then you have no idea how these tackles go wrong so very, very quickly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not entitled to a comment. I'm not saying you're not entitled to opinion. But whether I respect that opinion as to someone who knows exactly what went on here in the minds of Latrell Mitchell and Joseph Manu, then I'm going to take my own opinion. Because unless you've actually been in the position that Latrell's in, coming across as hard as he was, with a player ducking down trying to get an offload, where do I go and what do I do? Now, I don't think he meant to hurt him at all. Not in any way, shape or form. Not in any way, shape or form.
Because that's the other part of the game. Like before the game on Friday night, we're showing blokes getting smashed, fights between South and the Roosters. Then when it actually happens on the field, the people want to see the brutality. They want to see the violence of the game. But then when it actually happens, everyone's up in arms saying, ban this guy for life.
And what it does is it opens up the way for people to say, it's thuggery, it's deliberate, that is the most childish and inexcusable description of what went on in that incident. It really is. That's as damaging as anything that Latrell did.
But there are ex-players at the match review committee that are putting down that finding in the end, Gus. So they've been there before.
Yeah,
don't
start me on that, please.
Hey, in the end, so that's the call on Latrell. What about the call on the Roosters? Trent Robinson and those comments post-match and sideline comments as well has ended up 40,000 in this breach notice handed out today, Michael. What are the details?
Yeah, look, the Roosters, it's an expensive night. Trent Robinson's facing $30,000 worth of fines. Now, there's more to just this as well. The Roosters as a club are facing a $10,000 fine. There are suggestions there they abused match officials on the sideline. Matt Checken was the standby referee, copped abuse there from the football manager, Chris James. And also suggestions there was a text message sent to Jared Maxwell, the head of the referees, after the game that the NRL's looking at as well. It led to Matt Checken moving his seat in the second half to move away from the Roosters. Now, this got quite heated. There were some suggestions that the players had taken aim at Latrell Mitchell as well on the sideline. And after the game, Channel 9 caught some footage of Latrell in an argument with Jared Hargreaves in regards to Joseph Manu. So it got quite heated. Now, that vision between Latrell and Jared Hargreaves, there was accusations there that Jared had said that that was done intentional. So look, Latrell took offence to it. You can see in the vision that we're going to show in a moment that Latrell was quite upset with the notion that that was intentional. Here it is here. You can see he caught the eye of Jared Hargreaves and then went over to him to speak to him in the tunnel. Now, you can't see Jared, but club officials have confirmed that was who he was speaking to, and as you can see here, it escalated pretty quickly.
So I don't see an issue with things like this. This is a tribal
It's good for the
sport.
game.
It's good, not only good for the game, but it's a tribal sport. Like, you're in one team, they're in another team. You do your best for your team, you do your best for your mates. Jared's sticking up for his mate who's just been hurt. I've got no issue with it whatsoever. Latrell's sticking up for himself.
Yeah.
I know you guys love it in the media. It's part and parcel of the game, and it sells papers, and it's something good to talk about for us. But I don't see an issue with it.
There's no issue with it. It's fantastic. Apart from Joey Manu with a fractured cheekbone in hospital, the whole night is good for the game. We're talking about it.
It's probably the person
the next time we play them.
Person we're forgetting, Joey Manu. Like, as much as we're talking about Latrell, I feel so sorry for Joey Manu. Poor bloke's broken his face. He had to have surgery. He's the guy we're not really talking about amongst all this. So, but Joey, I feel sorry for you, mate, and I hope you're okay.
3 metal plates in his face as well, and the surgeon's comparing it to the sort of damage you get from a car accident.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give up any secrets here, but Trent Robinson rang me Saturday morning to discuss it, and we had an hour on the phone together, very civil discussion. I mean, I like Trent, and we get on really well. And he was and I understand the emotion of the situation. I understand the injury to his player. I understand all that, and there's a bit of Latrell in there, and he loves Latrell. And when we got talking around it, there was a lot of common ground in what we were saying, all right? But it's the way it just went on the night, and, now he's getting penalised for some of the things that he said. People want to contradict me or criticise me for what I said, but, as I say, I've got the courage and the conviction. I'll say what I like and say what I believe, not what someone else is telling me to say.
And very quickly, Gus, is there a code? Did Trent Robinson breach some sort of coach code on Friday night? Because Wayne rebuffed it pretty quick.
No, he's sticking up for his players. But what I said on Friday night is right. Here's a coach, Trent Robinson, who's now complaining at the way that Latrell approached this issue. His major problem was with the bunker and how long it took for this to be taken out, but no one really saw it. And when Wayne Bennett said, you've got a couple of players that sails close to your window yourself. And I explained this to Trent on the weekend. He said, yeah, I know. I said, you've supported Victor Radley. I said, we've all supported Victor Radley. We've all supported Jared Hargreaves. We all want to see more physicality in the game. The type of soft stuff that we've seen through the middle of this year is not appealing to fans whatsoever. That's why this game was so great the other night. It was 54 to 12. It was a blowout. No one's talking about the scoreline. Everyone's talking about the intensity of the action and the rivalry between the two teams. And next time they play each other, they say no holds barred. You'll fill Homebush Stadium for people to want to go out and watch it because that's what they like to see. That's what I'm saying. But, Trent and I had an hour on the phone. It was very, very amicable and he was, I know he was upset and I can feel for him as a coach because when a player gets injured. But it doesn't mean someone has to be punished for it.